Greetings. This is Eric Wanaina. Keep it locked here on Icon Radio, your number one entertainment plug.
Not the beat taker. In case you got it wrong, is the beat maker, not the beat taker. 10 fingers in the air. If you don't know, you better ask your mama, wherever she is, or ask a Kenyan with the good hair. Not just the good hair, but the splendid hair. Hey. A lot has been going on this past week. You ask yourself, what's been going down? First of all, before we get into it, we had to play for you some oldies. Some people say golden oldies, but they're not that old like that. We started out, with Swahili Nation, Mpenzi, Hakuna Matata. Yeah, like, it shocks me that some people don't know that song. When I teach this class called Artist Development over here, and I usually ask students about some of this music that's been known to come out of Africa that's been great music. Can you believe they don't know who the heck Swahili Nation is? Yo, go check your history books, find out who they are playing out there, When you check out the music, you find that, hey, you've also been in some music from them. But apart from that, we had Big Kev, the late Big Kev, we had his song playing, Vitisho. Vitisho's a great song, that's my boy, Big Kev, remembering him, remembering the music that he brought. Funny enough, right now, that song applies right now to the Kenyan hip-hop music scene. Vitisho, Some of you guys are coming out, you just want to start wars for no reason. So, yeah, he's on the Vitisho. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, we had some Jim Watt putting out his record, Jim Watt is one of the classic hip-hop artists that we have that came out of Kenya. It's good that he's back. He's putting out new music. He's doing his thing. Bless up to him and everything. So, we also had Giuliani, coming out with his record Biceps. Yeah, it's all about God with him. Biceps featuring MCLC. In case you don't know MCLC, she's one of the first proper gospel hip-hop female rappers to be heard in Kenya. Funny enough, a bit of a story about LC. I know her from back in the days because she was in a crew that I was in called the Rap Community. You're talking about 96, 95, 96, 97. Yeah, it was a long time ago. So when her and Giuliani got together, they got on that record, and it was great to hear them, putting out their music. We have a lot of music we're playing today on The Vault. We keep it KE all the way, Of course, we'll drop in some other music from outside there that you guys will get a chance to hear. But one question that I've been asking myself a lot, people have been talking a lot about different beefs. Of course, this week we heard about the beef between that Akote was trying to start with Fundi Frank. But I'm not here to get into that. That's another beef, with some meat on the side. That ain't for me. Yeah, I'm talking about the Kenyan hip hop, So one thing I was asking myself, all this Kenyan beef, where does it stem from? Where is it coming from? So I asked today and I said, hey, what do we need to do on The Vault? What do we need to talk about? We're talking about to live or die in Kenyan hip hop. Is it really that serious? Is it really that serious that people want to go to war and beat up each other, slice each other up, ruin businesses because of that? To me, I was just but it's not the first beef that has come out in Kenya, back in the days, way back. We're talking about that time. It was the beef between Notorious B.I.G. and, of course, Tupac Shakur. That time, it was East Coast versus West Coast. In case a lot of people don't remember how that beef started, a lot of times it was just of a misunderstanding, and a lot of beefs happen through misunderstanding. Then they're escalated a lot of times by the people around you who create those situations. So, but I remember that beef. Now this is where the story gets interesting. That beef crept into Kenya, by the way, believe it or not. So when I was back, yeah, the young beat maker was back in high school. I still remember that. Like, there was these young boys in our estate who used to walk around in the night. And they stepped people say, hey, who do you represent for East Coast or West Coast? Now, a lot of these guys didn't know at that time, but they represented for West Coast. This so-called crew that used to walk around the night. If you say that you represent for East Coast, what they do, 10, 12 guys, they beat you up, on the streets. That's what happens. And they used to go around every night doing that until someone told, the police in the LGT area, in the Langata area, that some kids were walking around and beating up people. That was the end of their movement of East Coast versus West Coast. The cops came up, beat those kids up, put them in jail cells, and had to be released by their parents. So now the parents knew what they were doing in the night. It wasn't what people thought, And so there's been a lot of beefs that have come up in Kenya, but they say this one that has come up recently between Toxic Lyrically and Brooklyn Boys is probably the most, like, one that's come out that's been violent and most talked about, But there have been other beefs that have happened. It's nothing new for us to see beefs over here. Like, we live for beef, But Kenya has a crazy scene. Actually, it says that Kenya, hip hop is one of the most passionate in the whole continent. We have a lot of good rappers that have come out of Kenya. We've had some good ones that have come out, also good ones that have come out from TZ. Uganda also has rappers, guys like, like Navio, The Myth, they have Ruyonga, they had other guys from back in the days. But to be honest, like, if I'm totally be honest, people like MC Yala, but to be honest, like UG is not really rated for hip hoppers, for rappers. Yeah, I'm not saying that they're not there. It's just that they're not rated for that, So when it comes to Kenya, it's like Kenya, we live and die off hip hop. We're like we believe in the hip hop movement, And a lot of times, sometimes we can go overboard, because we get so passionate. Like right now, people are so passionate about what's going down on hip hop. One of the other records that we played today was Oxida featuring Calligraph, was Steamer. So people are rating which one sounded better. Was the one by Brooklyn Boys sounded better, or this other one? To be honest, I feel like the one that Calligraph was on and Oxida, they could have done better. It wasn't, to me, that great the way it sounded. I just like, actually, the Brooklyn Boys one sounded to me better than theirs. Not to be a hater. I know both of these rappers have been in the game for a minute, but sometimes it's not about being in the game for a minute. People forget about that instantly. It's about your delivery. How do you bring up that record? Does it sound great? I know they put on some of their dance moves there. They're doing their 1-2, 1-2 as they were dancing. They're trying to move left to right, left. But I was just like, okay, those dance moves, take them back to grandma, They could have been better. Those dance moves weren't so hot, But those are their moves. And this is the Beatmaker's opinion. You don't have to like what I say, whether you like it, whether you don't. It's my opinion. But Kenya has this... It has this vibrant hip hop scene, and to survive actually in the Kenyan music hip hop scene, they say you've got to have bars. If you don't have bars, you're going nowhere. And a lot of the artists who came out initially, who were doing rap music, you don't hear about them. So people ask, what happened with them? Where did they disappear to? There is a whole ecosystem that's been created off hip-hop that's not in other places in Africa. Like not just Africa, but other places in East Africa. Like I said, the closest that I can rep is probably Tanzania. And we don't know much about what's going on in Burundi. We don't know much about Rwanda and hip hop, We only know like a tad bit, So we seem to know more. But the question is why all of a sudden, and we talked about this last time, why all of a sudden has this beef caused so much problem? Well, first of all, when you look at when this beef came out in February, it was based around. I feel it was based around toxic, catching feelings. You know, he felt like, he's, first of all, he calls himself the king of Kayole. I don't really know if this dude is the king of Kayole, because there's so many rappers that have come out of Kayole that I know personally.